Welcome to the Richard Doyd USA YouTube channel. I'm Richard Doyd. Today I have a review, kind of expose video for you. Back about a month ago, I bought an MR7350, and that is a Linksys router. And the reason I bought it is I wanted to have a Wi-Fi 6 router with the capability of running DD-WRT or OpenWrt. I only use open source firmware on my routers anyway, so I needed one that would do that, and the 7350 MR7350 from Linksys fit the bill. But then I was running it as my primary router, and I really liked the way it was working and how it was functioning with OpenWrt and DD-WRT. And I noticed a few things that were pretty cool about this router. Number one, I messed up and ordered the wrong one from eBay. So I got a MR7310 instead. And I was going like, man, it looks exactly the same. And so I started doing some digging, and I figured out that the MR73 series of routers, the 7310, the 7320, the 7340, and the 7350 are all the same router. But they're only the same router when you load either DD-WRT into them or OpenWrt. If you're using the stock firmware, that firmware chokes the capabilities of the hardware inside the box. But OpenWrt and DD-WRT, third-party firmware, unlocks the hardware to what it should be. And when you unlock it, you actually take it to the highest level, which is 7350. The thing about that is that even at the MR7350 level, it's still locked down. I'll tell you why. Because they ship this router running at 1200, 1.2 gigahertz or 1200 megahertz. And it actually has an 1800 megahertz CPU in it. It's a Qualcomm 64-bit, 4-core CPU. I got the specs for it right here. Right there. Quad A53 at 1.8 gigahertz. And that's not even overclocked. That is its rated speed. That's where it should be running normally, right? So once you put DD-WRT into this 5310, it goes to 1800 megahertz or 1.8 gigahertz processing speed. And that's not overclocking it. That is actually the speed it's made to actually function at. Pretty cool. You buy a 1200 megahertz router, and it's actually an 1800 megahertz router. You buy a 7310, and it's actually a 7350. Or a 7320 or a 7340. They're all the same router. And the proof I have, the final proof I got on that, and I'll show you it here, is the FCC numbers. Well, here's the manual. This is actually funny. In the actual manual for the 7300 series, they show that the 7310 is actually the same as the 7340. Let's see if I have the other frame in here. And the 7320 is actually exactly the same as the 7350. Okay, so even Linksys is actually showing you that at least two of those models are just duplicates of each other in their user manual. But they're actually all the same router. And you know, as far as I'm concerned, I would call them all 7350s. And because inside, that's what they are, right? So we keep going here, and here's the kicker. I've got pictures of the back of every one of these because I own I own all four now because I bought them just for fun, and I wanted to do some mesh networking with these routers. And mesh networking works best if you're using the same router. Like, it'll work with different routers, but if you want to have the least amount of problems, just buy the same router. Well, I didn't know I bought the same router, but I bought the same router with 4 different models on it just for fun. And by the way, got every single one of these for less than $30. I actually got the 7310 for $21.65, 7350 for $22.86. This is on eBay. A 7340 for 2620, and the last one, the 7320, I got for 3045. All under, and that's shipped to my house, taxes and everything, right? That's not the price. That's that plus shipping and everything. So you can buy these 1800 megahertz Wi-Fi 6 routers with, you know, a USB 3 port on the back as well. And they're super fast at 1800 megahertz, and they're not overclocked at 1800 megahertz. And you can get all this, and it runs OpenWRT and DD-WRT for under $30 on eBay today. You go look and you'll see them. And so I highly recommend these routers. They work really great. You know, this is the usual shenanigans by the router companies. They sell you one product, and you know they call it 4 different things, but it's the same thing. Like I've seen this with Netgear with the R6400 V2, which is also the R6700 V3. You know, get that. And this and the lower number router is actually the better one, not the newer one. In this case, it doesn't matter. They are all identical. I've taken the covers off, looked inside. I looked at all. Well, you're looking here at the FCC IDs. And if you can see, they all say the same thing, Q87-08151. And every single one has the same FCC ID. So they're identical. You can't tell the FCC that something is the FCC doesn't give anything a number that is different from the, you know, especially, well, it's all electronics, but it won't give 2 electronic devices the same FCC ID if they're not the same. So they're the same. Now, again, this is Linksys and how they sold this. They sold you a 7310, told you it was, you know, it was probably clocked down, or not clocked down, but, you know, locked down, so you didn't get all the features that you would get on an MR7350. But it's the same hardware. So that's very cool. So I wanted to tell you about that. I will be making videos on these routers on how to install both DD-WRT and OpenWRT. I will be going into mesh networks with these as well. I've already done all of this, by the way, but you know, you start at the beginning, and first you got to install the third-party firmware. I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how to take it off. I'm going to show you also how to do a serial debrick. In other words, if something goes wrong and you can't fix it, I'll show you how to fix it with a serial interface on your computer. On top of that, the other nice thing about these great little routers is they have U-boot. And what U-boot is they have 2 partitions. They have the main partition that you use all the time and a backup partition that's sitting in back there just in case you mess up the first one. And then if you mess up the first partition, you can switch over easily to the other partition and use that to rescue the router. Really, really cool. I will show you that as well on the videos. It's really awesome how that works. And yeah, on top of all that, I just can't believe you're getting a 1.8 gigahertz router with Wi-Fi 6 for under $30. It's a smoking router. It works really well. There's 2 things about it that are kind of strange when you're using the open source software. The OpenWRT, firmware, I should say. The OpenWRT firmware is all open source, and it runs at 1.5 gigahertz. Still, right? That's still 300 megahertz faster than you know, Linksys shipped this router. I mean, seriously, all you got to do is put that firmware into it. Off you go. And the reason for that is that they only use open source code. And it limits that speed, and they limited that speed to 1.5 gigahertz on purpose. I believe just to make sure that it doesn't overheat and that it runs, you know, stably, right? But it can be clocked up even on OpenWRT to 1.8 and probably beyond. But you know, I don't recommend ever overclocking hardware. It's made to go a certain speed for a reason. And now, DD-WRT isn't as open source as OpenWRT. OpenWRT, only uses open source code. DD-WRT will use the manufacturing codes from Broadcom or MediaTek or in this case Qualcomm. Some of those codes are actually faster than the open source stuff, but it's closed source what they call them blobs. It's closed source blobs, so OpenWRT will not use those at all. That's why OpenWRT does not support just about any Broadcom-based CPU, because they have too many closed source blobs for Wi-Fi and everything else that OpenWRT just will not let into their firmware. They're not going to do that. But DD-WRT is like the pragmatic third-party firmware. It uses that stuff because it's faster and it makes DD-WRT like basically plug and play with the hardware. They don't have to work as hard to make it work, and it works as fast as it would on the original manufacturing firmware. Actually, with the MR7310, 20, 40, 50, same router, right? It works way faster because it's running at 1800 megahertz. Now, I'll show you a picture of that. This is a picture of me logging into the MR7310. Look what DD-WRT calls it. Board, Linksys MR7350. Right there. Tells you right there, MR7350. It sees this 7310 as a 7350. Right? Pretty cool. And here it is running the IPQ6. Let's see if I can zoom that in again a little bit. There we go. The IPQ6018 quad core, and it's a 64-bit processor, so it's really fast at 1800 megahertz, right? And the funny thing is that even, DD-WRT, you look at overclocking and it's telling you that 1800 megahertz, you're overclocking it. You're not. You're not overclocking it. You're actually setting it to the right frequency for the CPU. It comes from Qualcomm as an 1800 megahertz CPU. Now, when you do this, you got to understand that it's going to run a lot hotter. Not a lot hotter. It's going to run hotter, probably about 3 or 4 or 5 degrees hotter. You got to watch that. And you can do that inside this firmware. And you can do it in, and there it is again, just set to the max. It says max frequency, and it calls it overclocking, but it's not. It is actually the actual functioning frequency of the processor. But the nice thing about DD-WRT and OpenWRT is that you can look at the temperatures. You can just, probe the actual firmware, and here on the actual configuration for DD-WRT, you can see that it's set. And this is it running at 1800 megahertz at 57.8 Celsius. Now, I tortured this thing, and usually I have the case off of the router and the cover off because it runs cooler that way, and I can hook up my serial connections and whatever else. But in this case, I said, okay, I'm going to run it with the lid on, full tilt, torture it. And I tortured it for about 45 minutes. I mean, speed test, 7 speed tests at a time, continuously, over and over and over again, plus some math running in the background it was hashing a SHA-256 code. It was just pinned for 45 minutes, and it went up to 63 degrees Celsius. And that's nowhere near the throttling level. Like, it would have to go all the way to 80, 90. So, no problem running it at 1800. I wasn't worried about it, and I'm going to probably do that with mine once I start running DD-WRT. Right now, my main router is the 7350 running OpenWRT at 1500 megahertz. Awesome. $26. You can't beat it. I wanted to give you the review on this thing. It rocks. It works really well. It's got Wi-Fi 6 and IPQ, the IPQ 6080 IPQ 6018 processor. Now, I don't know why they put the 28 in there, but it's part of the same family. And as you can see here, it runs at 1.51 on OpenWRT, 1.8 on DD-WRT, and Linksys advertises that as I don't know where, I couldn't really find it, 1.2 gigahertz. So maybe in some ad copy. Now, the 5 gigahertz channel, though, the chip says it's set to 160. You can see it here. Let's see. No, it's not. It's set to 80. So the 5 gigahertz radio is set to 80, so that's normal. So again, 80 megahertz, and that's fine. It's very fast. Let's go back here. Yeah, and you can see, there it is. 1.2 gigahertz quad processor, Wi-Fi 6, and 512 megabytes of SD RAM DDR3. Another awesome thing, right? Lots of memory, right? Really nice, at least for a router. That's really nice. So we'll keep going here. And yeah, so Wi-Fi is great. It's got a math coprocessor in it, which means all the cryptographic stuff like VPN or say you're doing tail scale, you can use that. You know, it basically offloads all that to a second or a third, or be a fifth processor. Anyway, so amazing little box for under 30 bucks. Okay, now Wi-Fi 5 and Wi-Fi 6. Why do I care? Well, 6 is actually a little faster. And 6 actually upgrades not only just the 5 gigahertz, it actually upgrades the 2.4 gigahertz band as well. 5 does not. 5 only upgrades the 5 gigahertz band. So Wi-Fi 5 made the 5 gigahertz band better, faster, whatever, but it kept 2.4 gigahertz at Wi-Fi 4. When you upgrade to Wi-Fi 6, you upgrade the 5 gigahertz band to 6 and the 2.4 gigahertz band to 6. So double plus there. I'll be making videos on installing DD-WRT, OpenWrt on this, and showing you how to use it and the various neat little tricks that I've done this with this already, including mesh. You can mesh network these things and it works great. So stay tuned for all of that. Now, if you like my content and you want to see more, make sure you subscribe to my channel. As part of the process of that, click the bell icon. Also, in the comments section below, if you got one of these, tell me you're happy, because it's a bonus to find out you got an 1800 megahertz router that you thought was a 1200 megahertz router, and very capable router as well, with of course OpenWrt. One more caveat there too is that the stock firmware on these routers, the 7310 to 7350, has not been upgraded since 2021. Now, they haven't found any serious vulnerabilities in it. They have found one, but it's a local one. It's not that big a deal. And Linksys has not upgraded it since 2021. And Linksys calls this router end of life, and has I think since 2024. But they're still supporting it. So maybe if there's if you're running the stock firmware, they'll still upgrade the firmware for you if there's a vulnerability or something. So again, it doesn't matter, because I'll never run the stock firmware. And if you want to run the stock firmware, well, then this video really doesn't apply to you, because nothing in this video will work with the stock firmware. It needs to have the third-party firmware that I'm going to show you how to install in it. In the comment section below, anything you want to say to me, and relay to me, questions, suggestions, even constructive criticism, write down in the comment section below and put it in there. Video description, I'll have chapters and links to stuff that I recommend, including this router. I love it, by the way. And those are affiliate links and they help me out. So if you're going to go get this stuff, use those links, and it doesn't cost any more than going directly to eBay or Amazon or wherever. You don't feel the difference. It's free. Like giving me a thumbs up is free as well. So give me a thumbs up, give me a like at the bottom of the video. Really appreciate that. Like always, take care of yourself, take care of others, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and we'll see you in the next video.